to You with Intention. I'm Cassandra, and this is the show where we help you consciously create the life you've been dreaming of. And we bring on other people who have lived with intention as well so that you can learn from their stories, their insights, and their wisdom. And I am very excited for today's episode because we are trying out a new reoccurring thing. Something I hope will become a reoccurring thing for us. We're going to do a June energy forecast. So I brought on my friend Asya Rose, who is an astrologer, as well as my friend Frances Naude, who is a tarot reader and a Reiki master. And all three of us are just going to jam on the energy of June. We're going to pull some cards. We're going to look at the stars and give you a forecast so you know what to expect energetically in June and how you can best navigate it. So without further ado, let's dive in.
So I am so excited for this episode. It is kicking off what I hope to be a series for You with Intention, and I hope you guys will let me know what you think of it. I wanted to bring on two of my close, dear, wonderfully magical and wise friends to kick off the month for you and give you an intuitive energy, astrological, tarot, all the things forecast so that you can kind of vibe with what is the coming month, going to feel like, and get some insights to get you excited about this month, hopefully, but also to help you better consciously, because we're all about consciously creating our life, help you consciously navigate it. So I have with me Frances Naude and Asya Rose. Welcome. So they're both my real close friends, but they're also brilliant in their own right. Frances is an incredible Reiki practitioner and tarot reader. She's going to be sharing with us what the tarot is sharing with us for the month, as well as she's just so magical. She connects to all of her guides and stuff, so we're going to get so many beautiful downloads from her. Asya is a very tell it like it is intuitive astrologer that's going to let us know what the stars are telling him for us. And y'all know me, so I don't really feel like I have to introduce myself. So a little bit of how this is gonna go is we're just gonna kind of roll through. We're gonna divide June up into kind of like the first half of June, and we'll talk about, we have a full moon going on there and some other astrological transits we'll be talking about. Then we have the summer solstice, which I think is the crowning gem in a way of this month. It's a beautiful ritualistic moment for all of us. And then we'll end with the end of June and the new moon that will be there, as well as any other astrological transits Asha wants to get into. But let's dive in. How you doing, ladies?
Awesome. So excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I'm excited too.
Yay! Well, okay. So one of the things I love about tarot, and also just about like pulling cards, I pulled a couple cards. I actually pulled just two, like for the beginning of June and end of June, from my Wisdom of Avalon deck, because solstice always makes me think of being in Glastonbury and Avalon and all of the magic there. I was like where Stonehenge and all of that. So I just like wanted to vibe in that energy. And one of the things I love is that, I want Frances to kind of share with us a little bit what's going on with the tarot. She's going to pull some cards for us, because I find often like when I'm tapping into intuitively what's coming through, and when she's pulling cards, then Asya is going to tell us about the astrology, and you're just going to be like, oh my God, everything's connected. And that's
as it always is, because you're reading energy your own way. Frances is reading energy her own way. I'm reading energy my own way, but the energy is still the energy. It doesn't change.
Exactly.
Right? We have different modalities to read it. That's all it is.
And the thing I love about having us all here is that I feel that sometimes it's often just like a certain way someone says something, right? That like it like turns the lock in a key in us and like opens that up. And so we could all say the same thing like three different ways, but like one of us is just gonna like hit that sweet spot in you. So that's my intention, is that you receive whatever wisdom you need to help you navigate June as your highest self. So as we're kicking off the start of the month, Frances, you want to pull a card for us?
Yeah,
And
let's do it. And I love what you said as I'm shuffling here. I love what you said about kind of like those right words when they click for you, because that's what happens very often, if not all the time, with channeling. Sometimes when spirit speaks, I'm like, literally, what are you saying? But then the person that I'm channeling for, they're like, I know exactly what that means. Or, oh, my grandmother always used to say that to me. Or, oh, this is, that makes sense to me because I was just talking about this yesterday. So I always like to share that, because sometimes I'm like, what are these words? What is this translation? And then I'm like, oh, this is the way that it was supposed to be shared in exactly that, right? Which is going to be cool to see between the three of us, like how everything is translated. So let's dive in for the beginning of June. I have my cards spread out here. I'm just going to be silent for a moment. If you're listening, please go ahead. You can, if you are driving, do not close your eyes, but you can set your intention to just be here now. If you are not driving and you're just relaxing, just take a minute and we will pull energy for those listening for the beginning of June.
And while Frances is focusing on that, I'm going to give you guys a little. What have I pulled for the beginning of June was this focus card from my Avalon deck. And I thought that this was so aligned because we have this full moon in Sagittarius. And whenever I think about Sag, I always just think about like aiming your arrow. Like, where are you pointing your arrow? What are you focusing on? And, having that in the energy of a full moon, I was already thinking before I pulled my card, like, to me, that's like, what are we releasing? What are we closing up? What are we tying up now that we've gotten like the clarity of what we want to focus on, and what things are kind of naturally coming to an end? What things do we need to release? And just allowing the beginning of this month to really be about centering on whether it's like, what am I going to focus on? Or Sag always feels also like, what is my truth? And it's not like, I think about it less as like truth with a capital T, like divine truth, and more of like a personal truth. Like, what is my personal truth, like in this moment and in this season of what I need to calibrate to? Frances, I'll throw it to you.
Let's do it. I love that too, with this idea of truth, because what was coming through as you were speaking was like speaking your truth, like with self, right? So it's like understanding my real feelings, not how I should feel or not what I'm running away from or whatever it is, but it's like what's actually coming up. But let's see what tarot says. So speaking of truth, I was going to say what tarot says. We have this first card here. This is the Star. The Star card is all about, and it's funny that we're going to go into astrology next. I always love a good spiritual pun. But the Star card is very much about like identifying your true north. Like, what is your North Star? It's not about how you're going to get there. It's not about all of the details for doing it. It's truly just like what it is. And if you think about the story, of the three wise men, like following the brightest star, they didn't know where they were going. They were just walking through the dark desert. And the other thing that's coming through here is like, you need the darkness in order to see that star. And so what's coming through specifically right now with this card for this group for the beginning of June is like, don't run from those shadows. In fact, do your best to face them, specifically too with this full moon, which is often about releasing, right? It's like, in order to know what to let go, we have to actually face it. You have to, open, you have to go to the back of the closet and take all of the stuff out to see what it is that you want to get rid of. And that seems like a really big theme here with this card, so that you can like kind of clear out that darkness or that heavy or that sticky. Like, some of us I know have just been feeling like really stagnant. And so it's like, let's make the space for what? So the beginning of June for you is going to be making the space, number one, and facing the things that maybe you've been shoving away for a while. If you need support with that, talk to a friend, talk to a therapist, work with a healer. Like, don't be afraid to get support. And then number two, identifying like what that star is and not letting the how am I going to do it get in the way, because we also have here your how card. So like where to focus. Queen of Cups. This is the card of joy and like letting your emotions be your guide. Queens are also the divine feminine, so leaning into things that feel good, that feel happy, that bring you joy, that light you up, that like spark excitement or curiosity. That is how you're going to start to navigate what your North Star is. So if you're someone who's like, I literally don't know what I want, or I have all of these different ideas and I don't know which way to go or which one to focus on, pause for a second and be like, what brings me the most curiosity, excitement, or joy? That is where I want you to focus, whether it's like taking a class, starting a hobby, or like starting the business, bringing some of that energy into your work, your career. Like a lot of people often too, when they listen to us talk, they're like, well, I don't have my business. This doesn't apply to me. Yes, it does. If you're working corporate, if you're working in a restaurant, you can 100% bring all of these messages into that because your work is important too. And I always like to remind people that you don't have to be like doing some huge big thing to find purpose in your life. And so that ultimately feels like that underlying theme of the beginning of June. And I know this sounds like a big one, but it's like, what is my purpose? This is a great time of year to check in with that too, because we're halfway through the year pretty much, right? We're coming to that halfway point, as Cass mentioned, like summer solstice, right? It's this really beautiful, fiery energy. But in order to build that fire and actually make it work for us and with us, it's coming through that we have to kind of like know why we're building it so we don't like set the whole forest on fire, right? So intention, facing the heavy stuff, and your North Star is what lights you up and or what sparks excitement and curiosity. And knowing, final piece with the Queen, you are worthy of that. Like the Queen card in tarot is about worthiness. It's about stepping into your power. It's about like accepting your sovereignty, sitting on the throne, putting the crown on and being like, yeah, I get to create my life. My life deserves to feel good and I am worthy of accepting that. I feel like I've just been yelling, but I'm passionate and I'm excited. So
It's
that
so
is,
good.
I like the yelling though. I like yelling.
any questions? I'm
I
excited.
love
Keep going.
it. You know, I love that. And I feel like that's also just like such a beautiful like lead in. We're gonna go back because I want to hear Asha's take on the astrology, but like I can't just like it's such a beautiful lead into the solstice because it's like this energy of like celebration and joy and I feel like with the solstice it's about like fertility and abundance from that place of joy, right? From that place of like the cup overfloweth because I'm filling it up so much. And so I feel like it's almost like we're like gearing up to like hit that note in a way, to really be able to like party and like revel and like be like,
It's like,
yes.
yeah, like cleaning the event space so that you can
Yeah.
have the party. Like let's do it.
Let's do it.
I love that you said I sound like I'm yelling because your Mercury is in Scorpio, so the way you communicate is like a Scorpio. So it's like very intense and
I can't wait to share that with my husband. He's always like, "Can you watch your tone?" I'm like, "I'm just passionate."
right. So, and because Mercury is the planet of intellect, how we speak, how we think, how we process information and knowledge, and also how we share knowledge and information. So it's just so funny because you're like, "Am I yelling?" And I'm like, "She doesn't sound like she's yelling. She just sounds like she's passionate." But that also tracks with your Mercury in your chart.
I love that.
I know your chart, so that's why I said it.
I love it. So what about you, Ash? What is the beginning of June
Okay.
going on for us?
Well, we'll get into the Jupiter transit in a little bit later, but since we're focused on this full moon, I don't know if even we mentioned the date for anybody listening. It is on June 11th. So people need to know that we have a full moon in Sagittarius. Full moons tend to be all about completions, right? I always say the moon is full, so something is completed, something needs to end, something needs to close, something needs to be released, as you guys have been saying the whole time. This is technically a completion of a 6-month cycle we started back during the new moon in Sagittarius that was on November 30th / December 1st, dependent on what time zone you're in. So when you think about what was happening in your life back at the end of November into the beginning of December, there's going to be a lot of like reflection and perspective on like what was happening towards the end of November, beginning of December, like what intentions did I set in my life back then? And here's the thing about Sag that people don't realize. Sag is the philosopher, Sag is the explorer, Sag is the optimist, right? And I'm going to go through a little bit of the signs real quick. We're not going to, don't worry, I won't like bore everyone here, but I like to say just for perspective, let's start with Libra, okay? Libra is a sign that is very focused on Libras, don't come at me. Sorry, Francis. Please don't come at me for saying this. But Libra is a sign that is very focused on diplomacy, harmony, peace. Like it wants everyone and everything to get along, right? There's a lot of people.
To a fault.
Yeah, there's a lot of people pleasing that shows up with this placement, right? So Libra sometimes will sacrifice truth because it doesn't want to disrupt the harmony of the situation. It doesn't want to disrupt the peace. It's okay. I'll sacrifice truth, or I'll even self-abandon my own truth because I don't want to disrupt what's going on here, right? Like, let's just keep it peaceful and harmonious and diplomatic. Then we move into Scorpio season, and Scorpio, as you guys, most of you know, or the ones who are friends with me, I'm a Scorpio, know this. Scorpio will never, ever sacrifice truth for the sake of the harmony in the situation. In fact, Scorpio will always reveal the truth, even if it disrupts the harmony of the situation. Because Scorpio is like, Scorpio's ruled by the planet Pluto. Pluto is the god of the underworld. So he's always uncovering what's hidden, what's underneath the surface. So Scorpios will come in and they'll expose the truth and be like, what's really going on here? Like I'm reading between the lines, and let's expose everything. And then that's why like there's so much darkness around Scorpio season, but also Halloween is during Scorpio season, right? It's like the veil is thin and everything gets revealed, right? That's not accidental. Then we move into Sagittarius season, and Sag is the optimist. So Sag is like, well, now that Scorpios reveal the truth, how do we look at this optimistically? What's the bigger picture, right? How do we look at this as the glass is now half full and like not half empty, but half full? Why did we need the truth to be revealed? How do we move on from the truth? How do we like bigger picture? That's Sag is very big picture thinking, right? Not like focus on the details, like what is the bigger picture in the whole situation, the whole scenario? So this very optimistic and very hopeful sign. And this is why like I always joke that like Sages don't know how to read a room, right? Like these are the people that will crack a joke at a funeral and like the darkest place or the darkest situation. And you're like, what are you doing? Like read the room. Like there's not time to joke. And they're like, well, I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking, like lighten up. Like, you know, not everything has to be like, look at the bigger picture, look at the bright side, right? Like these are the Sages. So now we have a full moon that's getting us to reflect on probably our optimism that we had at the end of last year, right? And then as we've seen as the year has gone on, maybe some of that optimism has not stayed so strong. And now we got to look at like, how do we reel maybe some of this optimistic energy back in, which relates to what the cards are saying, the star card, which is very much about hope, right? Like, how do we bring some hope back? How do we bring some optimism back? How do we see the bigger picture? Even through like some of the dark shit that's part of my cursing, some of the dark shit that's happened throughout this whole year, like how do we still look at this optimistically when it's hard to do so?
Yep.
I'm giggling because I know exactly what it means for me. So I'm very curious. Everyone leave in the comments what it means for you.
Yes, tell us.
That's it. Like we were very hopeful and optimistic, like, oh my God. And then what's interesting about that, like Sag is the optimist, right? And then we move into Capricorn season, and Capricorn's like, okay, set the goals, right? That's why we have New Year's resolutions during Capricorn season. Okay, now that you're thinking bigger picture and optimistically, what's the goal you're going to set? How are you going to achieve it? What's the plan? How do you move forward? What's the mountain you're going to climb, right? And then the signs go on and so forth. But we've lost some of our hope and optimism throughout this year. And this full moon is going to bring that back, where you're going to be really reflecting on like, oh wow, I really set some like really optimistic or really big picture thinking things at the end of last year. Like what happened? What did I follow through on? What did I not follow through on because I wasn't hopeful enough to do it? Where can I bring some more of this hope back into my life? What needs to be full moons? I always tell people they're not just times for reflection, but they're times for reviewing. Like what's been working so far? Great. But what hasn't been working so far, right? Where do you need to pivot? Where do you need to review something and edit and tweak? Because maybe you need to bring some of that optimistic energy back into your life.
And I think that also goes back to kind of like with the focus and the shifting things around. It's like if you're looking back and you're like, wow, I was so optimistic about writing that book or getting that screenplay done or starting this like creative project or going to the gym or reorganizing my house. Like, it doesn't always have to be work. It's always where my mind goes though. But like, whatever that thing was, right? And maybe it didn't happen, or it didn't happen like the way that you wanted to. I think part of that could also be looking at it and being like, well, how did I not create the time for it, right? Were there other things that I let get in the way? Like, how could I, with this full moon, like release certain things to create this space so that, you know, I can be more optimistic about it, because maybe I'm like, wow, I cleared out the time and now I have time or energy or focus to be able to put towards that thing, to be able to, you know, follow that North Star. I think, you know, I love that image of, you know, the wise men following the bright star in the desert, in the darkness. When our life is chaotic or busy or like distracting, let's say, as it always is because it's life, right? It gets that much harder to follow that star sometimes, right? Because we've got so much other busyness going on. So I feel like a full moon is like, it's a good time at the start of this month to just like quiet it all and release.
No, and I think with that last piece is rooting it in, right? Hopefulness, yes, but also coming back to that Queen of Cups excitement, right? It's like that is, we have the hope of like, okay, I can. And then it's like, so what is it? Because I think a lot of times too, we we either, as Cassie were saying, like things got in the way and we're like, wait, I was so excited about this. Why haven't I done it? Like, I deserve to do that thing that really lights me up, part one. Or it really lit us up, but maybe for more ego reasons of like, this is going to make me successful, or this is going to make people like me, or this is going to be some, you know, thing that's going to get me to the next level. But you didn't actually really want to do it in the first place. It wasn't actually something that excited you. And so, like, going back in that review, as Asha was saying, and being like, what is actually bringing me joy, lighting me up, creating the excitement? Because like that I think is the focus piece, like moving forward. But I'm very curious on the moving forward piece. And Asha, too, you said there was something else happening
With Jupiter.
astrologically.
Jupiter is
Yeah,
moving
with
sign.
Jupiter is rules Sagittarius, actually. That's the planet that rules this sign. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion, abundance, opportunity, hope,
It's my
growth,
favorite, obviously.
optimism.
I named my
Yeah.
car Jupiter.
Optimism, lots of expansion, lots of growth, lots of opportunity. I always say where Jupiter brings ease into our life, where we're like, oh, I don't have to work so hard for this anymore. Wherever Jupiter's sitting in our chart at any given point in time, we don't have to work as hard for things in that area of our life during that time period. And Saturn does the opposite. Saturn comes in, Saturn restricts. Saturn makes us feel like we have to work twice as hard towards that one thing. Jupiter brings ease. Jupiter is the opposite. So, and if you ever get confused between the two, like just think that Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. So it is going to like highlight and expand anything it touches, right? So Jupiter is switching signs for the first time in a year. It's moving into Cancer. And then boom, we're going to start Cancer season during the solstice. And so there's going to be extra emphasis. It's not just that we're moving into Cancer season, there's extra expansion around Cancer related themes, extra emphasis on Cancer related areas of your life. I can't see what you're pulling up there.
It's the Queen of Cups, feelings.
Right. Extra expansion on feelings, emotions. Guys, we've been so busy this year. A lot of us have been running from our emotions. Right. So this astrology, not to, you know, upset anybody in advance, but like it's going to bring emotions up that we've been too busy to face, or we've been running from, or like maybe, you know, we've used work or home or life or kids or family or whatever as an excuse. But like, I can't deal with my own emotions right now. This season may start to bring stuff up that has been buried because it's coming up to the surface to face it, to heal it. It's not coming in to harm you. It's coming in for healing. That's the whole point, because Cancer is the mother in the zodiac. It's the nurturer. So a lot of the themes are going to be around, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the solstice and we talk about the new moon and Cancer at the end of the month. It's around not only where we need to be more nurturing with each other, which, let's be honest, we haven't seen as much of in the climate of society right now, but also where we haven't been nurturing ourselves. Like where there hasn't been self-nurturing as much because of everything else that's been happening around the world and personally and everywhere else around us. So there's all of these like nurturing themes of where we can be our own moms, where we can nurture ourselves in our own way. A lot of Cancer is the mother in the zodiac, right? So it's bringing up things around like motherhood, around maybe even our own moms, where like we're not getting what we need. So there's a lot of that emphasis here. And now Jupiter moving in is going to amplify that further. And for people who like past dates, the last time Jupiter, because a lot of my clients always love when we reference the past so they can have some perspective. The last time Jupiter was in the sign of Cancer was June 2013 till July 2014.
Wow.
Just to give you some, that was 12 years ago. So just to give you some perspective of like, when you think about that time period for anyone here and anyone listening, like what was expanding in your life at that time? What was growing in your life at that time? That's probably the new area of your life this year, starting on June 9th, it's going to start expanding again or growing again. So I always say wherever Jupiter sits in our charts, and you can look at where Cancer is in your personal birth chart. You can look that up for free online for those listening who want to look that up. This is the area of your life that's going to be bringing in more expansion, more growth, more opportunity, more ease, more optimism, more hope. So we want, like, this is the area I always tell my clients, like, wherever Jupiter's sitting in our chart, this is where we want to be an opportunist.
I love that. That's
Right.
that's very, yeah, I like that.
So like a lot of times clients will say, sorry, Francis, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to say one last thing. A lot of times my clients will ask like, well, is it fate and destiny or is it free will? Like, which one is it? And there's a lot of debate with astrologers around this. And I think it's both. I think astrology opens the doors, right? Like everybody has potential in their chart. Everybody. Not everyone's going to reach their potential. And that's where humans of free will come into play, right? Astrology opens the doors. You as a person of free will get to decide, do you walk through the door or do you close the door? Right? That's where they both interplay. So now that you know this is the area of your life, when you look at your birth chart, that's going to be looking for expansion, that's going to be looking for opportunity. Like you get to decide as a person of free will, do you walk through the opportunity or do you not?
And how long, I was going to ask, how long are we here?
Oh, thank you for asking. So this is happening from June 9th, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. So a little bit over a year.
Okay. So,
Wow.
all right, I'm thinking what questions, because if you know me at all, you hear me say all the time, I am not the expert astrologer, which is why we have the expert astrologers. So as a non-expert astrologer, but someone who understands energy, loves personal development, etc., where might you, if you could sum up in one sentence, like what might be the general focus and guidance in terms of like the doing for this
Well,
energy?
a lot of it is related to what you said earlier that the tarot card said, which is not surprising or shocking because you're reading the energy, is where are you feeling lit up, right? Your feelings, let your feelings guide you.
Okay.
Right? Don't just take, like a lot of the energy this year is around people taking impulsive reactive action that I've been talking about all year long on my own social media. This is not about impulsive reactive action. It's about taking action that's in alignment, taking inspired action, taking intuitive action, which is very different than you just reacting, right? An example I was giving on another podcast the other day was, it's like somebody who goes to their job and their boss triggers them immediately and they're like, that's it, I'm quitting, I'm out of here, right? That's impulsive reactive action. But if you have intuitively been feeling, emotionally been feeling like this job is not aligned, and you've been thinking about this for months and months and months, maybe even for some people, years and years and years, now this is an opportunity for you to take action, not because it's impulsive, but because you've always felt that you weren't supposed to stay at this job. So both of those are rooted in action, but the motivator to take the action was coming from two different places.
And you'd also probably look at, you'd
makes
want to look at where Cancer is in your chart, right?
chart,
Because
yeah.
that's going to be the house that you have an opportunity to expand a lot
So
in.
Francis, I have your chart up actually in front of me. I know we're not doing personal readings today, but this is your career.
Great.
This is your 10th house in astrology. For those who don't know astrology, we have things called houses. There's 12 of them in our chart, and each house is a topic or a section or an area of your life. And for Francis, this is your 10th house. 10th house in astrology is the house of career, reputation, public image, and legacy.
Oh, no pressure.
Legacy.
No
Yeah.
pressure.
Well, but I will say one thing. I would say 70 to 80% of the time it is around career. For other people, their legacy is them becoming a mom and the legacy they're passing down to their children. So that could also be part of your legacy. So it's not always so black and white as like only career focused.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah.
I
Or
love it.
maybe you build and expand and grow in your career over this next year, and that is the legacy you pass down to your children.
Or both.
TBD. We will keep you posted.
I love that. I never heard that about the 10th house. But I also like, I always, about 10th house, thinking of it with children, right? I think of Cancer with children all the time. But it's so interesting because also I was looking up the date of the solstice, because it alternates like within a few days every year or whatnot. So I wanted to know, and it happens to land on the 20th this year in the Northern Hemisphere. And just like on like the first page of Google, you know, they give you that like little weird like AI summary or whatever.
Yeah.
There was like a little blurb of like a spiritual whatever about it. And the sentence that caught my attention was shifting where action shifts into nourishment. And I thought that was so, I was like, wow, like on one hand, like kind of a random thing to have in the AI blurb, but but then when you know you're talking about this and that energy of like bringing in that the nourishment of like the Queen of Cups kind of level nourishment of like filling your emotional cups, right? But then also like the Cancer level of nourishment, which is like literally nourishing or like and mothering and all those things. And you know, the 2013 2014 was also when I was like peak recipe, eat with intention, cooking in the kitchen, all this like literal nourishment, like literal feeding, right? And of course that book is coming out in January naturally during this transit, right? I love how astrology works. But
It's, you know, the people that like deny that astrology is real, I'm like, you don't have to believe it. It's already happening.
it's already there. It's gonna exist with or without you. You can like, it's fun to know that it's happening. So let's move into like with that. Let's move into the solstice, because I feel like we could talk like forever about all the things. But let's dive into the solstice. Francis, do you want to get a card on deck for us of the energy? And I feel like we don't have to spend as much time on the solstice. I just wanted to call out the solstice. I think in future months we'll probably do like start of the month, end of the month, but you can't like ignore the summer solstice. It is just such an ancient, magical, ritualistic day that has celebrated across so many different civilizations. And it really is this moment for us to, you know, and back in ancient Egypt, it was when the Nile flooded, right? And they would kind of predict the crops of the year based on the Nile flooding during the solstice. And they did these like beautiful festivals. And back in like Gaelic culture and like Irish lore, they would get these, I forgot the name, hazel branches, and they would like forage with the hazel branches for like jewelry and crystals and like different like treasures, right? And then you think that the traditional, like if you think of like Midsummer Night's Dream, right? Like the Midsummer Festival, like fairies and flowers and like dancing and joy, right? It's just this beautiful energy. And I think especially with, you know, what, you know, I think the lead up, what Asha was talking about of that like reclamation of hope, right? And that reclamation, what Francis was talking about with the Queen of Cups, that reclamation of like joy and what lights us up. I really think that these like pivotal celestial celebrations are so important because gosh, life is crazy, right? And life can be really hard and life can be really not fun sometimes, right? When we're just like lifing. And so I think it's just, this is a really beautiful moment for us to do some sort of ritual, have some sort of gathering, whether it's just with one friend, whether it's ourselves and we just make like a beautiful thing, whether we gather with friends or family, um, and celebrate the abundance that's around us, celebrate the abundance that is overflowing. Because we're talking about this. I have a free Facebook group called Divinely Design Your Life, and I'm doing a May challenge that's revolving around abundance. And one of the things that we were talking about is how abundance is just like kind of these glasses you can put on, right? And you start noticing like, wow, how abundant is it that literally like I get to have a podcast and have two women I absolutely love and want to talk to all the time on it, and this gets to be of service to the world, right? Like how abundant is that? How abundant is that like I can literally go to my favorite little coffee shop whenever I want and spend like $8 on a latte that's incredibly expensive. And I don't have to think about it. I'm just like, this is a treat and I'm happy to do it, right? There's so many like different like things like that we can be abundant of. And to me, and this like reclamation of hope and joy, right? It's just this like pivotal moment for us all to get to like really just soak it in, to like stop and soak it in. In Latin, solstice literally means sun still, right?
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's like this moment to just like be still and like literally soak in the nourishment of the sun, right? The great nourisher, giver of life, right? When you think about like the sun, just like the flowers, the little sunflowers, like leaning towards the sun, right? We get to like soak in all the nourishment and soak in all that abundance and joy and goodness. And I'll stop talking and let's talk about what came up in the cards.
No, I love it. And I was even thinking in terms of like modern day Western society. This is when we have a break. This is when people go on vacation. Like, we all think we're so like in control, but we're not. We literally still follow the patterns of Earth because we are a part of it. And so it's like we naturally like feel called to do that, which I love. But Cass, as you were talking, I was hovering my hand over the cards, which is how I pull cards, and one came through. We'll see if there's another one after this, but to begin, ooh, this is very interesting. Okay, so okay, I understand. Around summer solstice, we have the Five of Cups. Okay, Five of Cups encourages you to focus on what is going right. I don't know what is going to happen in the course of the next few weeks. I don't want anyone to be fearful that things aren't going to go well, right? And what we're going to do is really be focusing on the optimism, focusing on the hope, focusing on the joy, because that is what is in the energy. There may be slightly a little bit of like an extra need to do that because things might feel challenging, because things might feel a little bit sticky. And the reason that I say that is because Five of Cups typically comes through when we're just like, oh my God, I can't catch a break. It comes through when like we're really kind of feeling like we're running into a wall. We're like, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all the good things. I'm like what else can I possibly do to get what I want? Or to just like be okay, like feel okay. And once again, the guidance comes through here, Five of Cups, focus on what is going right. So around solstice, yes, I want you to like take time to celebrate, to pause, to really revel in what is good in your life. Whether that is like enjoying an amazing meal or like watching a funny movie or going out into the sun, like getting out into nature, having a party, like a little song, a little dance, like whatever it is, doing a ritual on the more spiritual side, whatever it is for you. But Five of Cups invites you to really focus on what is going right. And also what's coming through here, what you do know. So what is going right? What do I have and appreciate / what am I grateful for? And what do I know? Sometime around the solstice, actually, if you can and you feel called to, want you to sit down, pen and paper. If you can do it by hand, please do. And journal on those things or make lists of those things, right? So what do I know? What do I have / what am I grateful for? And what is going well? Because those three things are going to ground you in a place of being more inclined to want to celebrate, to want to take a break. Because ultimately, too, if we don't pause to break, if we don't pause to recharge, we can't even, like, how do we expect the next day to go well, right? So this is really about giving yourself time to kind of be like, all right, things have been tough. Like if you are seeing this, the video and you can see the card here, it's a girl kind of hunched over. She's sad because 3 of her cups fell over. But because she's so focused on these 3 cups that have fallen over, she's completely missing the fact that she still has 2 full cups. She's okay. She is safe. She has what she needs. And the more she focuses there, it's like, I'm gonna die of thirst. It's like, no, you're not. There's 2 full cups. Like, drink from those cups. So really, even the way that Spirit just said that, drink from the cups that you have. Allow the joys of life, even the teensiest ones, to fuel you, to allow you to pause, receive, so that you can gain that fuel and the momentum to keep going. And if you're feeling sticky and stuck in a tough spot, it's just a moment in time. I know it sounds naive to just focus on the positive, right? We hear that all the time, like, just focus on the positive, find the silver lining, but it's going to energetically fuel you and shift your mindset so that you can move forward in the energy that we've already talked about before. Okay. So take a little time around those days or around that day to journal and get clear on that. So you can have your gratitude as an anchor to move forward.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love
It's
that.
about perspective.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to move on and like wrap up to the end of the month. So after we have the summer solstice is the same day that we actually start Cancer season, which we've spent a lot of time talking about the energy of Cancer. And then a few days later or several days later on June 25th, in case I mumbled that, we have I talked too fast. We have a new moon in Cancer, and where we talked about the full moon earlier in the beginning of the month, this is a new moon. And new moons, for those who don't know the difference between the two, full moons are more about completions and endings and closing chapters and reflection. New moons are all about new beginnings. That's why it's called a new moon, right? New beginnings, new opportunities, fresh starts, new initiations, planting new seeds. So we have a new moon that's in this beautiful sign of Cancer that's all about nurturing, focus on the home. Cancer also rules the family. There's a reason also why during Cancer season and around these new moons and stuff in the summer that we spend a lot more time with family, because the energy is calling us to spend more time at home with family. Like even if you're like by a pool or at a barbecue or something, like there's a reason why that's all happening during this time period. So new moons are great times to start planting new seeds, to do like some type of ritual or a journal or take a bath, because Cancer is a water sign. It loves to be in water. Right? It's the crab. So for those of you who are in water, if you live by a lake, you can spend some time, or a pool or an ocean, you can spend some time in water around this new moon. The energy is really going to be positive for that. If you're not near water, wherever you're living, or if you are living somewhere in the world where it's not warm enough to even go outside and be in water, right? You're still experiencing Cancer season. You can take a bath at home. That's another way you can like honor in this water element with Cancer. But the most important thing about this new moon is this is a new moon sitting next to Jupiter. The last time we had a new moon in this sign was a year ago. Jupiter was not there. The next time we're going to have a new moon in this sign is going to be a year from now, and Jupiter won't be there anymore. So, and it won't be back in the same area for another 12 years after. So this new moon is not just a big new moon. It's like whatever intention you set during this new moon in the Cancer area, specifically of your birth chart, Jupiter is going to amplify big time. So another reason why we want to stay hopeful, we want to stay optimistic, we want to think big picture, because like this is not a new moon I want people thinking small. at all, because there's so much expansive, opportunistic growth, abundant energy around it. And I'm telling people, like, just have tunnel vision towards your own goals. Don't get distracted by all the chaos in the world, because there will be a lot of chaos in the world over the next several months. Astrologically, we're not going to go into politics and everything, because this is not the kind of podcast, but like, stay in your lane, stay in tunnel vision of like what your particular goals are, what lights you up personally, and use this new moon to really set some new intentions and new beginnings in a new area of your life, that now Jupiter's going to be like, oh, you gave me something to really grow here. I'm going to amp. So like in any other year, a new moon here, maybe it would take like 6 months or a year or whatever to manifest. Now that Jupiter's there, things are going to come much faster and much quicker. So why not take advantage of it?
Also,
Francis, I'm looking at you and your career.
also
Again, no pressure.
no pressure, but also like new moon, Jupiter in Cancer, like pregnancy.
Yes.
Pregnancy.
Yes.
If you want to get pregnant, get busy with it. If you don't get pregnant, use protection.
If you don't want to get pregnant, also make
it is ripe for the
it's ripe
babies.
fertility. Well, you know, the different zodiac signs rule different body parts and organs in our body. I don't know if people know that. And Cancer rules the breasts, which makes sense, because it's like mammary, where the breast milk comes out of. So it's very like nurturing, mothery, like
The breast milk will flow.
I could have used some of that last year.
I'm like, okay, I'm ready for my breasts to like decompress now. They can go back down. That would be great. I love what you're saying, because what was also coming through for me, other than the like, be careful,
the breast stuff.
careful what you wish for if you have sex. But was this one of the idioms that I've used in one of my like main courses that I teach, is like building this foundation for expansion, right? And I always talking about like, if you want to build a skyscraper life, you have to have a foundation that's going to be able to hold the skyscraper. And when we think about Cancer, like, and Jupiter in that Cancer, I think it really is. It's like building that foundation for expansion, because that foundation is really how you nourish yourself, how you mother yourself, right? And when we think about like mothering ourselves, like as, you know, as a mom now, right? Like you do all these things so that your child can grow and develop and like, you know, enjoy their life and have fun, right? So whether it's like the kind of like organic baby food you're buying, or I'm gonna put them in this like Montessori music class, or whatever you're doing, right? Like you do all these things to create this foundation so that that little being can like shine and express themselves and be the healthiest, happiest versions of that. And so when I'm thinking about this new moon at the end of the month, it's really like, okay, now imagine like you are that kid, right? Like you're the kid and you're the mother, and all of the things that, you know, those things that we think of, whatever it is for us personally, that's like our next level of joy and expansion and growth, right? That we like so deeply want to step into, experience next. All of them have similar, like their own little like version of the organic baby food and the music classes and whatever, right? And depending on what that is for you, it might be different, right? But it's looking at that in yourself, like what are the things that I can nourish myself with so that I can expand, so that I can grow. And whether that's, maybe it is like physical nourishment, like sleeping, moving, you know, drinking water, eating healthy food, grounding, all of that stuff. Maybe it's like spiritual nourishment of like going deeper in meditation, or traveling to a place that we feel called to have an experience, like all these different
Maybe it's
things.
even sleep.
Yeah, just sleeping. Sleeping by the ocean. Wait, no, it's Cancer. So crying, then sleeping by the ocean.
And then finding what lights you up because you feel so good that you had a good cry.
Right.
Seriously, oh my God, that reminds me. When I first moved to Santa Monica, I literally would go to the ocean. I'd listen to a sound bath. Maybe I would cry, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm a water sign. And then I would literally wrap myself up in blankets, like so you could hear the waves crashing, like right on that, like the front of the sand there, and just sleep. Like now I look back, like mommy, like that was so dangerous, Cass. But but it was like the deepest, most nourishing sleep. 10 out of 10 recommend if you live by a safe beach.
Safe being the key word.
I don't know if Santa Monica's still a safe beach.
No, I literally woke up to like homeless men having a bonfire. And I was like, thank God my parents don't know about this.
They do now, if they listen to this.
I don't know. I don't know if my parents listen to this podcast. We'll find out. I'll get a call.
So good. Oh my gosh. Well, should we pull one last quick card on the new moon and see?
Yeah. Take us home, Francis.
Okay, let's see where to focus at this new moon. So we know a lot of positivity, we know a lot of mindset shifting, we know a lot of holding the vision of the goal, following our emotions, especially the joyous ones, not running from the heavy ones. But let's see around the new moon where to focus, what to know. Okay, so a few cards, but they'll tell a story. So the first one, interesting, King of Wands. And then we have Two of Pentacles. Oh, and the World. Okay, so King of Wands, this is all about grounding. The mantra that I like to give with King of Wands is you don't need to scream to be heard. The way that I feel like this is coming through based on what you have shared about this new moon, astrologically too, and energetically, is like kind of what Asya was saying, like this is your vision, right? What you are defining and clarifying for yourself is truly just for you and what lights you up. Because once again, we have a king, this is royalty, right? This is, you deserve that life. You don't have to prove it to anyone else. Your goals should never be to prove to someone else that you are good enough or doing something, right? There should always be that self-motivation and desire there. But two, you are worthy of having that thing. The speed at which you create it, even though we have Jupiter on our side to help us, but the speed at which you create it is not a priority. Okay, right now, it's wonderful that we have the astrology on our side because that's kind of going to do it for you. If I'm right there, Asya, it's going to come in and do that for you. So don't worry about the speed. Focus on the clarity, ground, take your time. In fact, taking your time once you clarify those goals is actually, ironically, going to help you go faster because you're not going to have to go back and fix mistakes that you made while you were in a rush. So go slowly. You are not falling behind. And in fact, we really need to strategize a little bit here because Two of Pentacles, this is about time management. This is about scheduling. This is about, yeah, like really feeling like your life is as balanced as it can be. So things to focus on in daily life, delegation, scheduling, to-do lists. When you make your to-do list, make them in priorities. If you don't get to number 5, that's okay. Do it tomorrow. Focus on number 1, 2, and 3. Look at, especially with summer, if you have kids, your kids are home. So like, does the schedule need to change? Do you need to, change what you guys are doing? Are there more movie nights because everyone needs a break? Like, do what works for you, but really look at like the logistical, tangible parts of life because that is going to help really expand your energy. As Cass was talking about building the foundation for the skyscraper, our last card here is the world. This is expansion. This is the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. But we can't do it all at once. You have to be really diligent and strategic in how you're going to build it. And if you have multiple roles, parent, business owner, CEO, entry level position, whatever your job is, mother, like cat mom, dog mom, whatever it is, none of us are just one thing, right? We're all also just human beings with feelings and inner critic thoughts and all of these different things that we are constantly working through. So really with this new moon, slowing down, taking time. You are worthy of time. You have time. You don't need to do anything for anyone else. This is just for you. But in order to do it and really, really step into that expansive energy of the world, you must kind of break it down smaller into bite-sized pieces so that number one, it feels accessible and like you're able to do it. But number two, so you don't burn out, because then we're like undoing everything we've been focusing on this month. So really managing your energy. Final piece, totally separate from all of that, but super related to the world card. If you want to travel, this is a great time to start planning your travel. Or maybe you're going to be on a trip during this time, because the world card is about truly seeing the world. So if you have a little bit of wanderlust going on right now, lean into it, because this is a really great time to honor that desire, Queen of Cups once again. And who knows what's going to happen on that trip. It could just be an amazing trip, best trip of your life. You might meet the love of your life. You might be inspired to start a new career. Who knows? But really, again, setting the stage for yourself to have those solid foundations to be in that expansion of Jupiter, but also slow and steady at your own pace, just for you.
I love that. And I just, to put a little button on it, I feel like it goes along with this. The last card that I got is fear. And it's like, if you can, for those of you listening, there's like a little bit of water through these stones, right? Kind of coming in. And I think also, as we're talking about this, like creating that foundation for nourishment, like Francis was saying about like actually prioritizing and like looking at all of that, and not trying to go too fast and all of that. It's always sometimes for us to reflect and say, how is the fears that I have about like this actually happening, or like me actually being successful at this, me actually manifesting this thing, how are they? Oftentimes what happens is we unconsciously self-sabotage by not creating that foundation, because we're actually terrified of, even though we really want it, we're equally terrified to get it because we want it so bad. And those of you that have been around me a lot, I always say that like the things that our soul craves the most are always the things that we're the most scared of, right? It's because they mean so much to us, right? And so I think looking sometimes, if you're wondering like, why am I struggling to create, like to do these things that I know are going to nourish me, that I know are going to set this good foundation, why am I not prioritizing stuff? Why am I not writing my lists or doing my things, making the time? Why am I trying to rush it and go sloppy with it? Oftentimes it can be because we haven't dealt with that fear that's there. And so sometimes by looking at that fear and doing your work to clear that, release that, then all of a sudden getting to do all of this stuff comes a lot easier. Closing remarks, Ash? I hate to rush, but I'm just trying to be cognizant of everyone's time. And no, I feel like all of us could talk for 7 hours.
Well, I just want to reemphasize what I said earlier of like, if you have the vision, stay, continue your tunnel vision, right? Like stay on the train. Don't get distracted by like things distracting you at each train stop for the sake of a metaphor and an analogy, right? Like, because there will be a lot more stuff showing up around the world and politically and everything else. Like that's also what the astrology is saying. So I think the more you can stay, like there's a reason, if you are getting like downloads, if you're getting intuitive hits, if you're getting feelings about like, well, I need to be focusing on this, don't get stuck in the narrative of, well, why should I even want that for myself if like the world is burning here and this is happening in this country and that's happened, like what is the point, right? Like don't get caught up in all the other chaos that's going on around you. Like if you're getting messages that you need to be really doing something for yourself, please listen to that, because it's going to get so easy to get distracted with everything else the next couple of months.
I love that. We serve when we are at our greatest wingspan, right? Yeah. We serve the highest when we're at our greatest wingspan. So it's of nobody's service to sabotage yourself and play small and hide away. Thank you for that reminder. And thank you.
It's my really quick little conspiracy that we'll say like big power, whatever that is, sometimes it's a little smoke and mirrory because they don't want us to be in our own intuitive power, because that is when people really step away from fitting in the little boxes that they want us to be in. So I could talk about that for days and days, but
If
I
you-
We should do
won't.
a separate. I can definitely talk about that.
That's a
with you.
whole other podcast.
We
We
should
could
do
all
a whole other episode about that.
So
You wanna
all
talk-
that to say,
if
though,
you want to talk conspiracies, oh, I'm in. That'll be a fun podcast.
but like, don't let them take your power, right? We have to care about other humans. We have to be mindful of what's going on. We have to do our part to be, good members of society. But at the same time, if we give our power away, we can't show up in service, as Cass was saying. And then that doesn't do anyone any good.
Amen. 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 Oh my God. All right. So thank you all for listening. Please let me know in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know in the comments below what things you really resonated with. What were the like tidbits for you that really like resonated and stood out? If there's any, questions or things you'd like us to chat about on next month's podcast, I'd love to hear from you as well. And of course, if you're listening on the podcast, be sure to like do a little screenshot, throw it up on stories, tag us, and same thing. Let us know. Let us know what you thought about this episode, what parts really maybe gave you that little zing that you needed. And thank you so much, Francis and Asya, for taking the time. I know y'all have a crazy end of May, and I so deeply appreciate both of you just like jumping on board with my crazy idea and doing this.
Always.
It was a blast.
Thank you. Thank you. It was so wonderful to be here.
And everybody, I'll put the links below so you guys can see. You can book one-on-one sessions with both Francis and Asya. Francis, like I said, does tarot and Reiki. She does it in person in Laguna Beach, but also virtual from wherever you are in the world. And Asya also does it virtual from wherever you are in the world. You can get an astrology reading with her as well. And y'all know me. So thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.